Yo, did you actually see the new isekai that came out this week?
No, which one?
You didn't see it? Dude, Crunchyroll's been doing an awesome job because they kind of blew it up and advertised it like Kaiju number 8. It was sick. It was actually one of the best isekai like beginnings I've ever seen. I think it's like a
That's
very
sick.
generic name though. Let me look it up. Uh, Trapped in the Magical World of Salcon. Yeah, yeah. Trapped in the Magical World of Suck
Mm.
on these fucking nuts. All right, boys, welcome back. Episode 9 of the Casual Weebs podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day, a great week. It has been awesome. Awesome week of anime. It was actually been really sick. I mean, dude, each week it's just like these seasons keep progressing, keep getting better. I mean, Kaiju number 8, Windbreaker, Bartender, in my opinion, Konosuba have all been very, very good. Each week they keep getting better and better and better. And honestly, they're just super enjoyable. A Condition Called Love, we're going to be talking about that, but not in necessarily a positive way, more in a funny way. Blake has missed the past 2 weeks, which is reasonable. But I'm going to catch him up and you guys up and kind of why this anime is one of the weirdest romance enemies I have ever seen. He's a serial killer. It is true. He's got something wrong with him, and he 100% killed his parents. Um, boys, special announcement at the end of this episode. So if you're interested in that, keep a lookout for that. It's gonna be at the end. We got the chapters as always, but dude, what do we want to get into first? I mean, there's so many options, so many great ones.
Um,
Kaiju number 8.
yeah, definitely. Let's do it. Kaiju is awesome.
Dude, it is so good at walking that line between like, okay, like we're not going to take ourselves seriously, this is a comedy, to then having that really intriguing great story. I mean, it's insane. I mean, the entire time he's taken this test, like they're just cracking so many jokes, they're making it super humorous, but then at the same time you have those scenes where like, I'm not going to give up, I'm going to keep pushing forward, and it's just like they walk that line beautifully, and I hope that they can continue to do that because that's something that's very difficult that they're just doing very well right now. So I can't wait to see how that kind of continues in season 2, season 3. But so far it has been insane the way they've been doing that.
I feel like they've done a really good job at yeah, kind of letting you have fun with the characters and getting
Mm-hmm.
to know them individually, and then like the dynamic between fucking Kafka and Ishikawa. Like their friendship is really good. They're really good, like a duo. But then also they introduce Shinomiya and like I already knew right when he like flips his car over and Kafka's like, yeah, remember the name, kiddo. It's like, yo, you're screwed, dude. Way too confident.
Like but that's like the coolest thing though is that like he said that and it's so funny because then he ends up realizing that she's like royalty pretty much, like she's like the top of the top, like the prodigy, like the greatest prospect anyone has ever seen in the history of these kaijus and these hunters and stuff. And it's like everyone's after her, everyone's like, no, we have to beat her, we have to be better than her and all this shit. She only cares about him. He's the only one she's looking to, surpass and embarrass and beat. Meanwhile, everyone else are like high level elite prospects. And you have this 30-year-old who's about to throw up from walking 10 feet, and she's like, I really want to go after him. Like, you're my rival. So I thought that was also hysterical.
Yeah, like their first few interactions are really, really good. I like when he tries to like carry his equipment after they all get raided when they first get put in the suits, and he's like, if your suit's not doing any of the work, this stuff is really heavy.
Yo,
I thought that was really funny.
that output too. I was looking at that and I was like, I'm like, all right, listen, it's either gonna be extremely high or extremely low, and seeing that zero was so funny.
Yo, I definitely thought he would be higher, just like his innate kaiju powers or whatever. And then the proctor's like, yeah, I've never seen a zero before. And of course, our boy lets us down again. That was so funny though. And like just overall, every anime this week, so many good like reactions and like funny faces and stuff. But yeah, Kafka had me dying the whole episode. But then even, as the test progresses and like he does kind of struggle through a good portion of it, him and Ishikawa realize like let's play support instead of trying to like steal the show. Let's do what we do best and like try and use our heads here. Obviously, before that falls apart.
Yeah, but yeah, there was a lot of things like that you could really, that I guess were shown because he was like, okay, I'm looking at the bigger picture here. Everyone's so focused and tunnel vision because they're younger, not as experienced, and have big egos. So like, okay, yeah, let's see how many things we can kill. And it's kind of the same thing in My Hero Academia, where it was like you had those big robots to take out, but they're worth no points, so why would anybody take them out? So everyone ran away from them. Meanwhile, like Deku kind of realized, well, they're looking for people to be heroes, so do something heroic, take on something that like you're not going to get any credit for, because it's not about the credit, it's not about the points when you're on the streets saving lives, trying to help people. It's about just doing the job that needs to be done instead of the glamour. And that's what got him into the academy. So it's the same thing here, where it was like everyone's so focused in tunnel vision on, oh, look at me, I'm a big shot, I can kill a bunch of kaiju. When it's like there's more than that when you're out there. You got to have people that have your backs, that have strategy, that understand the kaiju and are intelligent, that can support and help. Those are really the MVPs, because everyone, is gung ho and there's always going to be a better shooter. But like to have that really supporting cast, that's what really comes into elite squads, are the people that can do that very well and that can work together very well. So I think that really put him ahead and gave him a big leg up. And it's just little things like that in that little training scenario that you really kind of saw him shine, is the little things that kind of add up and that really kind of show the bigger picture.
You're right. Like, as much as these tests are about like strength and your ability to like kill kaiju, it's also about intelligence and like using your personality to get along with one another and, like you said, form a good team. Because when you're out in the city, there's way more ramifications and like implications if you were to fail, or and your teammate gets hurt or civilians or whatever. But they're testing to see, like you said, who's like intelligent and who's kind of thinking of the bigger picture rather than just racking up numbers.
Yeah, because they're not just there to kill kaiju; it's to save lives. So if someone's just completely focused on that, well, then what's the crossfire? People can get caught in that. You can end up taking down a building because all you're focused on is the kaiju, and you end up doing more damage than you thought. It's all about like who can see the bigger picture, who can see really what's kind of going on, and then also it showed his intelligence with understanding the kaiju, because it was really funny them going into it, how it was like, oh yeah, no, it's cleanup. That's what they do. That's what they do. And then like, yeah, no, you guys gonna kill kaiju, and he's like, they're both like, fuck, like we're screwed. He's like, you said it was gonna be like disposal, and he's like, I'm in the same boat as you, man.
Yeah.
So that was really funny, but that ended up helping them. Not in the way that they thought, but then he was like, yo, I know these kaiju literally inside and out, and that's where it really stepped in and really kind of helped. And not only that, but I mean, it kind of showed a leadership kind of position for him. But he's like, hey guys, like, yo, like the stomach's weak, aim for there, and they did, and like, oh wow, like nice, like cool, you know what I mean? So you can really see that, like, even though he's older, even though he's not as athletic or as strong, a lot of the people are actually kind of gravitating towards him. The one girl who's like, again, the prodigy of the century, she's competing against him. She sees him as a rival. The other guys, they ended up respecting him. So like, oh wow, man, nice looks. Like, how'd you know that? Like that's really cool. So now they look at him for kind of guidance, where it's like if he says something, they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna listen, because last time you were dead on and you're completely right. Obviously you know something that we don't. So that's where you can kind of see him kind of have this authority, and then also he's got that grit. I reminded me of that so leveling the Arise scene when he's like, get up, and then he ends up kind of getting up. You see the 0.01% output.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, just add that little insult in there. But yeah, I feel like that's what really kind of highlighted Kafka as like actually a top candidate.
You're definitely right. People are like drawn to him, and I think Mina's obviously been watching. If he wasn't in the mix of candidates, I don't think she would be down there watching. You know what I mean, for the
Yeah.
for this next part of the test. And you're right, people are gravitating towards him because like he has shown he's intelligent, and even Shinomiya realizes. I think she says it at the end of the episode. Like she wants him to use that power she saw when he like put his car back in the parking spot. Like she knows he's holding back in a way. And even though they Kafka and Ishikawa joke about it, like he didn't even make it 5 minutes without using his power. She didn't see it, so she didn't know really what's going on. But I think they did adapt well and kind of do the best that they could with that situation until, yeah, obviously he's busted up now. He gets tore up at the end of the episode, but it'll be interesting to see how they finish out the tests, and I'm interested to see how Kafka kind of, if he makes it or not, or if he's about to get in trouble and he uses his power. It'll be interesting to see what happens going forward.
I want him to use it. It kind of pisses me off that he's not using it, because he's treating it like it's this cheat code. Like, oh, it's unfair that I have this, but it's unfair that that person can run faster than you. So what? Should they slow down? So they're just like you? Like, no, like, dude, like you might have just gotten it, you might not have been born with it, but like you got a power, like you use it. That is strength that you have, and you're just like, it's kind of like disrespectful to everybody else out there, but you're not giving it all you have. You have more tools and more weapons to your disposal, and if you don't use it, well, you just saw that you almost got killed. So what happens if someone else gets killed? And you could have saved them if you could transform. You know what I mean? Like that's on you because you didn't do everything you could to protect them. Um, I think a big part of this too is kind of I guess highlighting his other strengths, kind of like we were talking about, because like he's not out there like killing shit, super strong, doing really well. It's kind of showing the more leadership, intelligent side, more kind of like strategizing and um, directing people around. So that's kind of give him that leg up compared to everyone else who is just dominating on the shooting side, the athletic side. So that might help him kind of get in, and they want to, I guess, highlight that. But I definitely want to see him use his powers. Kind of like I was saying last time, wondering if he could change only certain parts of his body, and that did turn out to be true. So I'm very interested if he kind of keeps up with that and kind of just, doesn't transform his head, but everything else. Because that would be sick. I really want to see it, and I think when he uses it, I want to know what that meter says. Because I think when he changes, it's going to say like 100% or something insanely high.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I don't think there's any way he progresses forward without at least using some of his powers, which will be cool to see. And just kind of with the oversight they have, like the proctor and everybody watching, I find it really hard to believe that he would get away with it. I think, yeah, like you said, the suit will give him away or somebody will see something. So it'll be cool to see how they react to it and, kind of what his performance is, if he just kind of runs with it or if he tries to hide it.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool, like really cool to see Mina's kind of reaction throughout the whole thing. Because is she pissed right now? Like she's not saying anything, so like we don't really know how she's feeling right now. We assume that she was disappointed that he made this promise, gave her all this courage and energy to kind of go out and do that, and then she's all alone. He bailed, he couldn't cut it, and now he's back trying. Is she kind of like excited, like come on, please, like make it through? Is she kind of angry, like now you're finally trying to do this, like it's a little late. It's been years. Like we don't know how she's taking any of this, but she's been very cold, very uh, distant. So it would be really cool when she kind of gets into it more and we kind of see what she's feeling, what she's thinking.
I think you hit the nail on the head. She's a little bit frustrated and like disappointed and angry at him, but deep down, I think she's really rooting for him and wants him to at least stand out in a way that can make him join the defense force and at least make good on his promise to her. Because even though, like you said, she hasn't said anything, she hasn't been verbal about her feelings, she definitely is rooting for him. But I also wanted to say, like, even though Kafka comes off as like immature and kind of like lighthearted. When he does actually start taking himself seriously, I think he is a good leader, like you said, and people do gravitate towards him because he's a good person. He's pretty selfless and he's capable under pressure. Like, he reactively, saves Ishikawa even at the cost of his own life in the beginning of the season, almost. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see his personal development, but also kind of how he tackles the rest of the test, especially now that he's banged up.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's going to be very interesting. And also, again, it could be one of those things where it gets people to follow him even more because it's like this guy, he's old, he's hurt, on the brink of dying, and like he's still getting up and pushing through. So I think that speaks a lot to his willpower and kind of this fight that he's got. And again, you kind of want that with somebody like, I mean, when you look at special forces and like today, that's what they look for. They look for guys that are going to be able to push themselves way past their breaking point because, like, if you're in enemy territory and you're, shot up and all banged up, like, you got to get the fuck up and get out. Like, you got a mission to complete or you got to get to the extract. So, like, when you look at stuff like this, it's like that's what they want. They want guys that are going to keep pushing forward, well, guys and girls that are going to keep pushing forward and do what needs to be done, and not just, oh, I'm hurt, I'm going to stay there and give up, because lives are at stake. That's what they're trying to protect people. They can't take out that kaiju. That's a whole city that can get demolished. That's so many lives lost. So having that grit, having that fire to get up and keep going and keep fighting, I think would speak a lot about him and kind of like what they're looking for.
Yeah, very good point. I definitely think he'll make it through one way or another, but you're definitely right. The kind of that confidence and that leadership ability, Kafka has definitely displayed that. And even though Shinomiya's done a really good job and she's running up the numbers, she's like very selfish and she's only going out to make herself look good. So
Well, she saved him.
yeah, she did, but
So
like
yeah, she saved him.
Yeah, she is kind of an all-star, and everybody like expects that of her,
Yeah.
though. You know what I mean? She's like the greatest prospect of all time. So even though she has those expectations and she's delivering, somebody like Kafka, who's quite literally a nobody on his last leg at the very young age of 32, and every time she like makes fun of him, just like damn,
Dude,
but yeah, it'll
I
be cool to see how he makes out.
yeah, like I think she's an awesome character. I absolutely love her. I know in the last episode we were talking about like like what an asshole. I actually thought that was funny. I think that she's a very cool character and it's gonna be like very interesting. I can't wait to see more of her. Like we can see from the cover that they're probably gonna be in the same squad or something. So I cannot wait to see like their interactions, throughout the season. I think that she's gonna be a very cool character. I think that she's very funny, but also very interesting because you also got to look at her position. She's got all the pressure you can possibly imagine in the world. I mean, of who her father is, who her family is. I mean, putting up like 40 something percent. That's insane. So like people expect a lot of her and she expects a lot of herself. And I think that she's going to be really good for Kafka to really push himself strength wise, to push himself in that physical aspect and kind of use some of the Kaiju's powers. And I think that that's going to be awesome. I think that's going to be really cool to see.
Yeah, I definitely think they'll get closer moving forward. Obviously, we see them in the cover, so they will have some kind of relationship moving forward. But you're right. I definitely think she'll play a pivotal part in his like early growth and kind of learning to hone his own body, not just his kaiju powers.
Yeah. But Windbreaker. What a week for
Dude, very
Windbreaker,
sick.
dude. So, good.
It definitely did not like play out the way I was thinking. They like jumped right into it.
Oh my god, yeah. The one dude just showed up. He's like, all right, let's get going, boys.
It was like, oh shit, here we go. Yeah, the leader of Shisterin, I guess, just pulled up, literally just rolled up on the school and called out Umemiya, which was pretty wild. I was not expecting that this early, like into the first season.
Yeah, and they're all like, all right, cool, let's throw it down, let's go. Like, this is awesome. So they're all squaring up. That seems like it's going to be the next episode where they are literally going one on one. Like, they're all fighting each other in these one on one matches in this tournament style. Like, that is so sick. The matchups, by the way, are just
Wild, yeah.
amazing. Amazing. I mean, it's going to be huge, too, because we've been talking about Sakura and kind of proving himself. And, throughout the whole series so far, you can tell this kid loves to fight. He wants to fight, and he's good at fighting. I mean, he took on the wild dog dude, dodged every attack, landed a big hit, surprised everyone. Like, holy crap! Not only did he come in immediately and say that he wants to be the top guy at the school, but he proved that he has a shot. You know what I mean? He's not some weakling. He's not some pushover. He's not some all talk no bite. Like this guy can throw down. Like he can fight. And then, we have these matchups, and like he's going against their second in command. Like he's not going against some average fighter. Like the second best guy from their like gang, their school, he's going against him. So I actually think that this is where we're gonna see, him kind of take a little bit of a beating. Get hit once or twice. I don't think he's been hit yet. This whole series, so I don't think he's gonna go in there and walk away with a clean, easy victory. So I think that that's gonna be very, very cool to see.
I do too. It was pretty cool how, I mean, obviously the Furin guys trust him in taking on the second in command, but he kind of gets called out from the last episode. Their interaction, he's seen Sakura kick that guy, and he calls him out and says he wants to fight him. He keeps calling him Othello-kun. So that'll be interesting to see, like, kind of mind games he plays with Sakura, but that's a huge matchup for him to kind of cement his status, in literally like the first week at school. And we get a little bit of backstory as far as like Umemiya and like how he feels about fucking Kotoha, Tachibana. Like,
That was funny with Sakura. It's like, you guys dating? And they're like, the fuck you just say to us?
absolutely not. Yeah, they're like all offended immediately. But like obviously he cares for the whole town, but her in particular. So he had already heard about Sakura, and like anytime she's involved in a incident or the coffee shop is like he's sure to get filled in or like act upon it. So I'm sure he already knew about Sakura. So they have no worries about him taking on Togame, the second in command for Shisterin, which I think will be really sick. Hopefully Sakura wins, but yeah, like you said, I don't see that being easy for either of them because Sakura's already shown he's clearly an adept fighter for his age, but we have no idea if these other guys are even gonna, they're probably gonna play dirty if they're gonna fight fair or not. It's all one-on-one, but it'll be interesting to see how they deal with it. And Sakura's intelligent too. He knows that he's no pushover, but I think it's time for him to test his abilities because you're right, he hasn't literally been hit yet.
Yeah. Also, so much to unpack of what you just said. That's the thing. This episode was bananas. It was absolutely insane. So first of all, I don't think he's gonna beat him simply because if he does, I feel like that automatically makes him like in a running for one of the four kings. Like if you beat their second in command, that makes you in like the top five at least bare minimum at Furin. You know what I mean? Because like he's taking on the best guy except for the cap. So like he's right next to Furin's leader. You know what I mean? So I feel like if he comes out of that with a win in his first week, like he's definitely kind of be like he's gonna be like Furin's second in command. So that's the only reason why I don't see him winning that. But also I was kind of right saying this from day one, the very beginning. Tachibana and the leader of Furin, I forget his name, but they're like pretty much siblings. I thought that they were like related, but they were from the same group home. So that was very cool to see and being right on. So fuck yeah. But the other thing I thought was very interesting about that scene too was she was kind of scared saying that like oh like we were part of the same group home. You kind of see her turn away, kind of look down, and kind of like fuck. And when he's like oh like that's it, that the smile cracked, and she was like. Of course. What was I thinking he was going to say? Like, it's Sakura. You know what I mean? Like, he's not
Yeah.
judgmental. He's not going to take pity. He's not going to, be like all the other reactions that she got from people hearing that. Like, he doesn't give a shit. This guy doesn't pass judgment. Well, he kind of does. He judges book by cover. But like, with stuff like that, he just doesn't, it doesn't phase him. So, part of that, so I thought that was really cool, especially with building their friendship. But I thought what was very interesting about that as well is, was Sakura part of a group home? Because like he
Yeah, I'm
ate that
not.
food quick. I don't think he's eating at home.
Yeah, now like they don't really give you too much of his backstory yet, but he's very comfortable and like thinks it's totally normal that they both grew up in a group home, and like for them to all kind of be in similar circumstances right now, like that would be a good point. You know what I mean? He could have grown up in a similar situation. And I didn't realize this at the time watching the episode, but like that would make sense as to why she's only 16 and not going to school, but she's working full time or working at the coffee shop. She's got to pay bills and she's probably living on her own or with roommates or whatever. I'm like, why, she's only 16. Well, why wouldn't she be in school? But it kind of gives you like a quick glimpse into like their backstory and like their childhood. And they don't say anything about soccer, like you said, but maybe he could have grew up in a similar situation.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like the person who kind of owns the coffee shop probably works closely with the group home or is like very familiar with them, kind of like a parent. Because that like seems like one of the situations where it's kind of like, oh, I kind of own this. Well, she comes in and kind of like takes over because we see her open, she closes. Like I feel like she's being groomed to one day own it. You know what I mean? She doesn't seem like a basic employee. She seems like she pretty much runs it. So it could be like one of those situations. But then yeah, with Sakura, like we were saying this since the episode one, we have no info about his parents. We haven't seen them. We haven't heard about them. I mean, see him picked on and getting into fights. Every time he's eating, he's eating really fast. It's something where he's devouring food, and they really kind of made that like prominent in this episode, where like he devours it, and everyone's like, "Dude, like you already finished eating." Kind of makes you think that like he's not eating at home. Like no one's there to buy food and cook it for him. He's not eating his vegetables. That's one of those things where like parents always make you eat vegetables and like he just doesn't because like no one's sitting there telling him that. So it's like one of those things where it's like was he a part of a group home or does he have parents? Because like that could explain too why like he was so casual with it. Like oh yeah that makes sense because like he's been in that position.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. The like the little vegetable scene. I mean, it's literally like a split second, but they're like, "Oh, you didn't eat your vegetables." I think that's a good subtle way of telling them, yeah, like there's nobody at home. You might not have any older siblings or whatever. And to grow up like aggressive and like being able to beat everybody up. It's kind of like that common trope of like he didn't grow up with anything, but at least soccer is strong. And I think that's part of why he's left his hometown and come to for Furin.
Yeah, and why like now he like with his affection, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of like finding that family when people kind of be like give him props or are there and support him. He's like he's not used to how like handling that because he's never had that. And I feel like with how many episodes we've been in, we're getting a lot of information, but still not even just a glance at that. So I wonder if that's going to be something that kind of gets brought up later and becomes a whole bigger thing later on, or what, or it's just not talked about. We just kind of ignore it and just forget about it. You know what I mean? But I think that that's something very interesting. And I think that explains a lot about his character, if that is the case.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and like maybe if he were to lose his fight with Togame, kind of how he handles that and like maybe the conversations he has with the guys. I'm sure we'll get a little bit more of his backstory toward the ends of season one, if I had to guess. But I think some of that depends on how these fights play out.
Yeah. And I'm gonna absolutely butcher this, but I just want to make sure because okay. So the one guy's name is Sako, right?
The leader of Shistoran, I guess.
I don't think Sako's the leader of Shistoran. I think it's like is that the one of the kings, one of the four kings, the one with the tums, or it's someone
Uh,
the one leader.
Hiragi is the one in their group. Like the other Hiragi, I think he's one of the kings, right? He's like
Okay.
the spiky haired dude who, yeah, has like terrible indigestion or whatever.
So with him, I'm like he's got beef with somebody. I want to know what that beef's about. Because the guy who he's fighting,
Yeah,
he's like, oh, you like we're going, like let's go, let's drop him. You know what I mean? I
they
really
don't
want to know what
touch on
that's
it
about.
though.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to. Like that's gonna be what happens when they're about to face off. Kind of like, oh, well, here's the backstory. They're probably gonna have dialogue about it right before the fight, during the fight as well. But I really wonder what that beef is because so far it's just been fighting. It's just been aimless fighting, just boys that like to throw down. There hasn't been any actual like hatred. There hasn't actually been any beef where someone's like I want to kick the living shit out of this person for this reason. So now we kind of finally have that. So I can't wait until they get more into that and we kind of figure out like what happened between them because there was some tension there.
Yeah, I think you're kind of seeing like their ideologies come into play where like Umemiya is very peaceful. You know, he likes the guys to have fun and like do their thing, but also like there's still some order at Furin, whereas Shistorin is just like the strongest rules. It's all about your ability to fight. So like those ideologies playing out and then also, their personal stuff, like you said, their beef and kind of like their own personal backstories, I'm sure we'll get a little bit of, but I was wondering how they would draw up like the villain or how they would kind of like craft in the story like the tension in season one. So having this like rival school or rival gang, I think is really sick. But they're like pedal to the metal right away. They're definitely diving straight into the fights, and like we're getting bits and pieces of like backstories and like the characters. But yeah, they're definitely gonna lay it out on the line to get us started, which I think is sick.
And what I love too is that they're not villains. It's just perspective. You know what I mean? We're just seeing from Fioren's
Yeah,
point of view and the way they see things, and we're just like, but it's just two groups of guys that do love fighting. And like the one guy who said, like it's a language, it's a conversation, it's an exchanging of words through blows. So you kind of see both sides of it in these different perspectives, and like not one of them is like necessarily a bad guy or a good guy. So it's very interesting to see kind of how that ship sways because I think we're gonna see some people now that were like, oh, they're really cool, like this is great, but things might change later on where we end up seeing Sakura fighting them or something to that aspect, or someone who's fighting now might become an ally later.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm super excited. I think I'm most excited for Sakura's fight though, to see how he handles this guy, because obviously, like you said, that would make him a very big dog at school if he were to win this first fight and like set the table for him. But I think regardless, he'll put on a really good performance and push that guy, even if he, doesn't win. But I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, like him winning, I feel like that's gonna be tough because then it's like, where do you gotta go from there? But I thought that that whole scene where they were getting the matchups was very cool. It really showed everyone's personalities just from that scene. The other school's captain just been like, okay, yeah, let's fight, like super joyful, like I don't care, like let's just do it. I want you because you're like the strongest and you're happy. I want your happiness. You're right. That was kind of psychotic, but like understandable. And
Yeah.
the other guy's like, all right, I don't want to like drag people into this, so like, yeah, like let's fight. Then you have the co-captain, second in command, who's kind of like, oh, like I remember you, like I'm coming for you, like I don't forget it, like I'll pay you back, don't worry. And then Sakura is just that ego that like I want to be that top dog, I want to take you on. Some of the other guys just playing it cool, like okay, I'll take pretty boy, you know what I mean? And he's like, who you calling pretty boy? Like fuck you. So just seeing the matchups and the shit talking really kind of showed the personalities, and now I can't wait to see the fight styles that match with those personalities because they're all gonna fight different.
Yeah, that'll be really cool to see, like how their personalities reflect their fighting style, and I'm excited to see Umemiya if he's like the top at Furin, kind of his fighting style and what his game is. But yeah, it'll be really cool to see everybody's unique abilities and kind of like how they fight moving forward.
Yeah, that was a sick block by him, by the way. Though when he came in with the kick, just boom. You're just like,
Super casual.
nah, yeah, dude. That's what I
Hell
think he's gonna
yeah.
be. He's just that real strong, tanky guy that can just lay hits.
Yeah, like when he puts his jacket on, you have that scene where like the flame like overtakes the screen and Sakura's like, yo, what was that? So that's
Yeah.
like the only that and like the block, I think, are the only things we get from Umamiya, but I'm really excited to see how strong he really is. And then obviously the Shisturian leader as well, kind of, put the two schools against each other.
Yeah, like it's one of the animes where you're creating a world, a universe, where it's like you like all the characters. You kind of learn about all the characters and kind of get into it. Every side, good guy, bad guy, whatever. And it just makes it so much more fun to follow along because then you're like way more invested no matter what's kind of going on. It's not just about the main character or some of the side characters. It's like everybody. You know what I mean? There's so many different people from Furin and the other school that you can pick from and kind of be like, oh, that guy's super cool. You know what I mean? And I think that they're all
Yeah.
just awesome. I mean, you just want to be friends with all of them. They have such great personalities, and they seem like the absolute. They're just boys. That's what they are. They're the boys. So I really like the characters so far. I think that Windbreaker has like some of the best written characters. Not in the form of development right now because I don't know how it's going to play out, but just like character design and kind of personalities that match. I think so far are very very cool and good.
Yeah, very easy to love, and like they're a really great group to root for, and all the different personalities. Like there's a lot to like attach yourself to and get connected to. So obviously, I think they'll do well against Historian. I think they're tough, but it'll be really cool to see how it plays out and how individually things go for each guy.
Should we try to make predictions of who we think's going to win each fight?
I'm like trying to think about it. I'm like, there's no way. Like somebody has to lose, right? So
Sakura, in my
we
opinion, is losing. I think that the Furin captain's going to win. I think Sakura's going to lose. I think the guy with earrings and the eye patch, I think he's going to win.
duo,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, dude, who else? It can't just be Sakura that loses.
and Hiragi. I want to say Hiragi will lose, even though he's like a big dog. And so like my toss ups are between him and Sakura. I feel like Sakura would be the better loss. Like he'll have a really good fight, but he'll still
What
lose.
about the guy with
And
the long hair?
I feel
He's
like
winning too.
he has to win because that's like his whole shtick. You know what I mean? Like he's a really good fighter. He's a wild man. But maybe he starts it off with a loss. I don't know. I could
Okay.
see him getting like caught up and like getting mind games played against him and taking a loss.
Yeah. Wait. So it's five people that are fighting, right? The leader, Sakura, long hair, earrings, and then the one of the kings. Those are the five.
Hiragi, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think yeah, Sakura and Haragi are gonna lose. I think the other three win.
Uh that's what my gut tells me, but I'll say Hiragi wins since he's one of the Heavenly Kings, and then I'll go with the long-haired guy. I keep forgetting his name. His I just keep thinking Baji from Tokyo Revengers because he's it's like
Dude,
the same design, but
and I love
I
him
gotta
for
say
that.
I like the characters of Windbreaker a lot more. Not that like there wasn't a lot of good stuff in Tokyo Revengers because I did enjoy some of that. But I like the group better in Windbreaker. But I'm
I
gonna say he's gonna lose and Hiragi will win. But I'm with you for the most
Oh,
part.
that could definitely happen too. And to be honest, next episode is going to be like an absolute toss up. Like some of the fights don't even happen, or something gets meddled with. But for if it's just 101 and just how it's being displayed right now, that's our predictions. But I think you're absolutely correct with that. I think Tokyo Revengers has some amazing characters, but I feel like they're just not used correctly because of the story. And I feel like then when you have Windbreaker, when you have such a phenomenal fucking story and that beautiful foundation to build this world on, I feel like those characters can be used in such a better way where it can really show that character design and kind of all the different interactions, and that's why it is just way better than Tokyo Revengers in my opinion, and kind of like what you're saying.
Even early on, like it has that depth and the interactions that you make you enjoy, like the group itself. Like you like all the guys and like they get along pretty well. Tachibana in the coffee shop, like there's elements that make you like them and kind of make them seem like warmer. They're not just like meatheads. It's not all about fighting with them,
Yeah,
which I appreciate too.
because like for Windbreaker, like they're building the world. They're showing all of the characters, all of the backstories. It's way more detailed than kind of like Naruto, for example, where it's not so necessarily heavily based on the main character, where that's kind of all you learn about. You know what I mean? You kind of have so many different characters that you're kind of figuring out, so many different favorites. And with Tokyo Revengers, it was kind of the same way. We kind of have the top three guys, Mikey and all of them, and then it was just everyone else was kind of just here and there. You don't really see a whole lot of them, but yeah, I think Windbreaker's doing an awesome job. But dude, what are we gonna talk about? Bartender, Konosuba, A Condition Called Love. That's so bad.
Um, Konosuba was mad funny, honestly. I haven't laughed that many times during anything I've watched in quite a while. That was a really, really good episode.
Yo, let's talk about the dinner then, and then go into the newest episode. The dinner was fucking hilarious. It took 5 seconds for everything to collapse.
Yeah, and I feel like the whole time Kazuma's been at the Royal Capital, I guess, like seconds into like any conversation or like story, like everybody quickly finds out how psychotic he is. He's such a nut and like kind of a perverted piece of shit. And then he'll be like, "Oh no, your older brother's not a pervert." Well, I don't know about that.
But here's a story about your sister like naked, and they're like, "What?
Yeah,
like she's a kid. Stop telling her that. Don't tell the princess about that. Like, are you what's matter with you? Like, lock him up. Get him out of here." He's like, "No, no, 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 no."
Dude, I was dying right away. Like right at the beginning of the episode, he's feeding Iris a terrible story about his sister. And even though she like exhibits some of those same tendencies as Darkness, I think she did enjoy hearing about like her sister's adventures, even though Kazuma is a massive pervert.
Yeah, Iris was so funny. I mean, she's a great character. Not sure if we're gonna like see a lot more of her as they're leaving the cat. Actually, they're kind of staying. It seems like we're gonna catch that noble thief. Which I love how Cosmo was like, yeah, like this guy is actually like taking from pieces of shit and giving to the church. Like, we got to stop this. We're gonna stay, and everyone's like, yeah.
All the people are like, yeah, I have nothing to worry about. Please catch this guy so we can sleep well at night. That was really funny.
It's like, what the fuck? Oh, when Darkness is like feeling like embarrassed because everyone's trying to like marry her again, and he's like, you know what? She feels really creeped out. Like, let me break the tension. Hey, Darkness, remember like when you were naked and we were like hanging out and you're calling me like daddy and shit? She's like, the fuck are you talking about?
All those times we were intimate, was that for nothing? And she's like, immediately just like breaks his wrist.
Yeah, she's like manhandling him. He's like, hey, wait. If you're gonna show your strength, you're gonna scare all the boys away. You're gonna scare all the boys away. Like, breaks his arms.
Yeah, hysterical. And I love like he goes outside and he starts pouting like he's like, oh, everybody's having a good time without the star. It's me, I'm the star. Just like his ego sometimes is so comical.
The way that he's like acts like such an asshole and does the dumbest shit, but then feels sorry for himself. But it's like, yeah, he's like, I just meant to have a little bit of harm. Like, I didn't mean to like go too far. It's like, what do you mean? You went straight over the line. You didn't even go like up to it. You went way past it. It's so deserved. And then Iris comes out and feeds the ego even more.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like cool to see him like just classic Cosmo like devise this plan to like, yeah, I'll stick around and I'll just stick around the castle and eventually I'll catch this guy. And the Claire's like, yeah, we'll post him up in like Target's houses, and he's like, no, that's not how it's supposed to go. Well, so that leads us kind of into what we're gonna see next as they like try to catch this guy.
Well, he loved it except for the house that he was first posted up at.
Yeah, he was not a fan. And it looks like everybody's going with him, too. It's not just Kazuma.
Yeah, well, they apparently really missed him because Megumi couldn't sleep without him there. And dude, they're all so funny. Because
that was awesome.
You have Megumi who genuinely kind of cares, but is afraid to say it. You have Aqua who doesn't give a fuck. She's just jealous that she's not in a castle as well.
And when you were like talking about soccer or eating quickly earlier, you're like, oh, did he grow up in like a tough situation? You have Aqua and Megumin absolutely feasting in front of everybody the whole night. And they're like, oh, we're going to stay here for another week? Sick.
I got room for tomorrow too. Like, we're good. We can keep eating.
I loved it. It was like, yeah, everybody ate good this week.
And dude, they're not even poor anymore. Like, it was understandable like in the beginning because like they were not doing well off. They were like barely making ends meet, like staying in a barn, and like they're in a mansion now. Like, they have money. You know what I mean? Like, they eat fine all the time. So the fact that they're at this like castle pretending like they haven't eaten in weeks is like the funniest fucking thing. Aqua with her party tricks still. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, she's doing her entertainer thing. That was really funny.
Like, a literal goddess.
So many times.
A literal goddess doing party tricks all the time.
Just like their dynamic is awesome. But I was definitely dying. Like, Darkness immediately throws Megumin under the bus and is like, "Hey, she couldn't sleep as soon as you were left." She's like, "Oh, it's just a
It's
coincidence."
just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. Dude, Darkness is like, it's so funny because Darkness is like, she's got her problems. You know, she's not normal. But she's like the most sane one there, which is what's scary. Like if someone's gonna start Konosuba and you're like, yeah, so the most sane one is gonna be Darkness, and then they like watch it and they experience Darkness, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is this anime? Like the one that wants to get the shit beaten out of her and it gets like off to it. Like she's the most normal one. She's the one who's like sane. Like that doesn't make sense. But it's like yeah, yeah. The rest of them are fucking idiots.
Cosmo's just like such a terrible person, even though he makes us laugh, and I thought it was hysterical. It was a really good episode, um, and kind of leads us into what we're doing next. But he goes from like being just a playmate to like trying to stay there permanently, just be like Iris's play buddy. I don't know,
I
like he
love
likes
that.
playing the older brother role. That was so funny. Some of those scenes were hysterical.
Dude, he's like, I just got promoted to the princess's playmate. And Darky's like, that's not a
Yeah,
fucking position.
it's not a real title in
That
this
doesn't
country.
exist. And he's like, no, I think it is.
Yeah, it's
Sebastian,
very.
tell her.
Yo, the wake up scenes were gold, dude. Waking up in his like lavish green bed and like
Yeah,
calling
same
for
position.
Sebastian. He's like, yeah, that's not my name. They like, yeah, replay that whole scene twice. I was dying. That was awesome.
He wakes up in the same position every goddamn morning. Like he's out of some like fashionista movie or some shit, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? And then he gets his coffee from Sebastian, who's not named Sebastian, and then he like awkwardly makes the one maid change the sheets as he's in it, and it's just
Straight
like,
creep, dude.
yeah, just a fucking weirdo. Dude, when Darkness punished him for that, when she was like, "Shut the fuck up and say what you're gonna say," he's like, "Don't make me." He's like, "You perverted piece of shit, say it."
That was so good, dude. He's like wild and out talking to like who's ever on the other side of the door, and like Darkness and Aqua and Megumin show up, and then he's like just in his underwear. Yo, absolute gold. Loved it.
Oh my god, it is so funny, but like it's such a stupid anime, but such a funny one. Um,
Yeah, it's like so easy to watch though. Like this episode was like the perfect example. Like definitely a good amount of laughs and like light, easy to watch, and like definitely some ridiculous humor.
Absolutely. Um, but bartender, or do you have anything else to say about Konosuba?
Bartender was sick. Bartender was definitely good. I was like really focused on a lot of the dialogue in this episode. It was pretty cool.
I was obsessed with martinis this whole episode. I mean, I think that was the coolest thing from the episode is that it showed, okay, we're gonna have like four different bartenders make a simple martini, and all of them made it completely different and had completely like different but similar tastes. And it really kind of this episode really showed that like bartending is an art. You're not gonna be able to make the same thing necessarily the same way twice. It's not like a franchise, like a fast food franchise, where it's like, okay, he has simple ingredients, anyone can make it, and it's gonna be the same product at each and every restaurant. You know what I mean? Like bartending, where depending on where you go to the bar, that bartender's going to have their own special touch onto it, and it's going to be different, which is just so cool. And it kind of just shows that like, okay, you can even make it with these same ingredients, make it the same exact way, but depending on how much you air it out, or how much you stir it, or how much you do certain things, it's going to give it a whole different taste profile. And I thought that was such a cool thing that they touched on this episode.
Yeah, like some of the attention to detail is just crazy in this anime. Like it does make you appreciate like high-end bartending, and they have like certain temperatures they'll keep alcohol at, so when they pour it and by the time they're done making a drink, it's raised a degree or two and becomes aromatic and stuff. Like I've never thought of that. Like I'm very low class, you know what I mean? I recognize the Moscow Mule, which looked awesome, by the way. I'm
Oh, I
like, oh
love
sick.
mules. So I was so happy about that.
Yeah, like the copper cup and everything. I was like, yeah, this looks good.
I was like, oh, I need to go make myself one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. But like the attention to detail is really cool, and then I feel like we're starting to see more of who Sasakura is. Um, like Kyoko, I don't want to call her the failed bartender because she did get her job back, and
The learning bartender.
yeah, the apprentice we'll go
Yeah.
with. And he like convinces her, if you have all that energy, let's go out and get a martini. And he goes to see, I guess, one of his old teachers. I don't know if this guy was his like main um, teacher growing up, or when he had first gotten into bartending. But he's the same owner of that bar that they go to. in Roppongi, which I get a kick out of it. He does stuff like a high roller, you know what I mean? He's like, oh yeah, let's go out to like the super high end fancy area. Yeah, so that was pretty cool to see, and hopefully they keep like giving us little tidbits of who he really is. And like they show that one scene with the bar owner. I forget his name. I want to say Uehara-san, something like that. Um, there was a cool interaction between them and like kind of shows young Sasakura and how like hungry he was to be a good bartender, but also like what his shtick was, like what makes him a good bartender and like his style and stuff, trying to like relieve, stress and like take care of the worries of other people, which I think in episode maybe 2 or 3, when he goes up against the best bartender, that's kind of his philosophy, versus the top bartenders. And he kind of like doubled down on that again this episode, which I really liked.
So actually, I think that back to when you're talking about the backstory, like the little flashback when he was first starting off and he was at that one bar with the owner. Uh, I think he's still that same hungry guy because when we see this new bartender that has come in, first of all, absolutely love her. I think that that is a perfect addition to the anime because now we're seeing that real like building. We're having more characters being introduced and staying and actually like having an impact. I think with her, you perfectly see who Sasakura really is because like you can tell he's trying to piss her off. He understands the pain and grueling detail that goes into bartending. Like if you want to be a bartender, it's not for the faint of heart. Don't think of it as some fucking job that you can just go into, like kind of going back to what I was saying about how like you can't just like follow the recipe to make the drink. You can't just look at it and be like, okay, here are the ingredients, just chop some ice, throw it in, and then just stir it up, and there you go. That's not how bartending works. There's like a whole science behind it, and they're talking about the different alcohols. Like, okay, well, she's making with this vodka, and in order to air out that vodka or whatever to bring it up, you need to then raise the temperature. So let's freeze it below that point, so when you raise it up, it still stays chill, but then also gets aired out. And like knowing all those different things about all of those different brands, is really important. So I think he keeps trying to piss her off to spark that fire into her. You know what I mean? And it still kind of shows that he still has that same mentality. He still pushes himself that way and still looks at bartending that way. It's just like he has that cool, calm demeanor to kind of hide it. But with her,
Yeah.
it gets exposed a lot more.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think just from the interactions we've seen with other bartenders and how Sasakura treats his customers, he really does care and he still does want to, continue to perfect his craft and be a great bartender, which I think he is. He's fucking awesome and he's got riz for days. But like he still wants to improve upon that and not settle. But I really like the way he delivered that kind of question to Kyoko. She thought he was rude, and everyone's like, "Oh, you were harsh there." But really, all he was saying um, was that, like, through the hours you spend, the mistakes you make, the blood, sweat, and tears, and bad drinks and unhappy customers, that's how you learn to be a good bartender and what makes you a good bartender. And if you don't like that process, if that's not for you, maybe you would rather enjoy just being like a patron at the bar. Like, I guess she took it like being seated on the other side of the bar as snarky, and maybe it was a little bit, but like, he's right. You know what I mean? You might like knowing what goes into a drink, but the service industry is a huge pain in the ass to anybody who's ever worked in it. In any regard, like working for people can be tough, and I think the anime kind of highlights some of those like pressures people will bring into the bar and project it, but they're not like actually mad at Sasakura. They just had a shitty day or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's like cool to see too. But overall, just like the attention to detail and all that stuff is really well done.
Yeah, and like kind of going with that, like you need thick skin. You can't just be pushed over all the time. You need to be able to just like shake it off and keep going and move on. So I feel like what he's doing is like, yeah, is he being rude? Is he being an asshole to her at a lot of the times? Yeah, but I think it's because of a good reason. I think it's because he actually respects her and kind of wants her to succeed. So he's kind of pushing her to the point where she can succeed instead of just babying her because he knows that that's not going to work. It is an art. It is something that you need to perfect, and you can't perfect it without making mistakes. So, he kind of pushes her to get through those mistakes to kind of realize things. But he even says, he's like, I respect the bartender that's training you because I think some things need to be learned without being said. Some things need to be learned by you doing it 1,000 fucking times, you getting frustrated and wanting to quit, but keep going, and then you figure it out. That's how you learn more and kind of understand alcohol on such a personal, intimate level where like you then realize these things. You realize how certain alcohols need to be shaken or stirred or or the temperature they're at. You need to learn the little things that kind of really bring out those flavors, and being able to manipulate those flavors. That's what really makes his craft and art so good, is not only to have such an attention to detail with his customers and being able to see all the little things and translating that to how he's going to make the drink, but like he knows how to manipulate the drink. He knows how to manipulate the flavors to then work with that.
Yeah, like Sasakura's a really good bartender, both socially and like picking up on little things about people. And like he mentions the guy's posture. Oh, do you work at the hotel? Like bam, right away. Like
Yeah.
that stuff's really cool. But also his knowledge of his craft and alcohol and different liquors and all that, and how they react together, and all the details that go into making a great bartender. I think he's got that too. So it'll be interesting to see how like that the storyline plays out, to see if he'll stick it out at Eden Hall or if he ends up at the hotel. Also, like I think you make a really good point. He wants Kyoko to be like stronger, because I feel like a lot of this first season, or a lot of this season overall, like you see that old head mentality, and like they're real stern and real strict, and they'll tell you straight up like they don't like the drink or that it's no good just because they don't like the way you made it or whatever. So you do have to have thick skin. I think that is important, and they did a good job of showing that this episode, because he does at the end say, I forget how he says it, but like Sasakura does care. He's not like heartless to her
Yeah.
situation.
And like the one thing to really kind of talk about and kind of bring up is the whole glass of God. So you can definitely tell that he still has that fire. Like when he told that, when he had that flashback and he's that hungry kid, learning how to bartend. He brought that up. He's like, I want to be the bartender that learns how to make the glass of God. You know what I mean? And that relates back to the owner of the hotel. So I think that they are kind of fitted to be, because he wants a bartender that knows it, and then Sasakura wants to be the bartender that knows it. Um, and who's able to make it. So I feel like Sasakura is still hungry. He still is after that goal. I don't think he's reached it yet. Because I mean, despite winning, competitions, despite being such a very, very, very good bartender and having the awards to prove it, and being sought after by so many different people, we met him reading a book about alcohol. He's still learning. He's still pushing, even though we don't really see it. Or it's kind of like showing little glances of it. Like he's still out there trying to get that. He's still after the glass of God.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Like the very first episode, we meet him at a park just reading a library book about like mixology and about alcohol. So he is still that same guy, he's still like passionate and hungry for more knowledge. So it'll be cool to like learn more about his backstory, but also to see like kind of how the rest of the season develops, and what plays out, and where Sasakura ends up, and who else he meets too, because it's got a lot of good like little side characters. I think like their interactions are really cool with Sasakura.
Yeah, I think that one bartender is gonna be really cool to kind of like follow along and kind of seeing her journey as she's just starting off, and I think she's like a really relatable character because she's trying really, really hard and it's still not just clicking. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, where it's like you really kind of give everything your all and you keep doing it, but it's like you look around and you see other people succeeding where you're not. So I feel like watching her kind of build and grow and become a better bartender as the season progresses, and then hopefully finally really make it and start establishing herself as like a top bartender and start competing. I think that's gonna be very cool, and also to see what other characters are brought in, that's gonna be awesome as well.
Heck yeah, man! I'm excited to see it. It's been like a rather casual but enjoyable anime, but I am invested. Like I want to see what happens and where it goes for
I
sure.
want to know the glass of God, dude. What is it?
Yeah, and like how it all came about, and like I feel like Sasakura has it. We've already seen like the way he interacts with people, but I want to see like where he came up with that or where he learned about it.
Yeah, like did like because he brought it up, but also the CEO of the hotel, like the owner, said it too, like without Sasakura saying it. So it's a thing. So someone either created it or can make it, or like what is it? Like it's this mystery that like people know about it, and the people who know about it are like fixated on it, obsessed with it. Right? This owner really wants someone who can make it. Like that's the bartender I want. To Sakura is like I really want to know how to make it. I really want to perfect it. So it's kind of like, what is this glass of God? Because it's in the goddamn title of the anime, so it has to be important.
Yeah, we will learn at some point, but definitely want to know what it is for sure.
Yeah. So it has been a great week of anime, boys. Special announcement. I'm super excited, super nervous, but I'm going to be streaming on Twitch. It is
Oh,
a
let's
little
go.
early to kind of talk about it because I'm a dipshit, dude. I don't know computers, and like I know that like I need a capture card to stream, and I'm getting one this weekend. But like I hope nothing goes wrong. If everything goes right, I could be streaming as early as next week, maybe the week after. But I'm super excited. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Whenever I get the official like details locked down, I will be letting you guys know. Uh, I mean, listen, drop by. We can talk anime. We can talk about whatever. I love talking to you guys in the comment sections about like giving you guys recommendations, getting recommendations from you guys. Give me a recommendation on anime. We are best friends. If I like it, we are family. Like that's how it works. So like seriously, like interacting with you guys and talking with you guys, especially about anime, has been an absolute blast. I think I can speak for both me and Blake when I say that this has been an absolute blast. I mean, just hopping on a call. We talk about that every week. How it's just so much fun, just geeking out over anime and just having a bunch of laughs. It has been honestly so great. In talking with you guys, like seeing the reaction to it has been awesome. The fact that we're growing in viewers with certain episodes, the likes, people commenting, subscribing, like that shit is fucking mind blowing. This is what episode 9, so this is the first week of the third month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And like the chances are that like we're gonna be starting next episode probably saying like, hey, like thanks for 100 subscribers because each week we're getting like 10. That is fucking insane. Like that makes no sense. So the fact that you guys are actually like enjoying this is so amazing, and we're so grateful. Like it's so cool. It's so cool to be able to like share your passion and have a bunch of other people like enjoy it as well, and you can all just talk to each other and enjoy it and share about it. So listen, if I'm gonna be live on Twitch, I'm gonna be doing I'm gonna be variety games. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of Genshin, but I'll probably be playing some CS:GO, some other games, whatever new indie games coming out and trending. Despite of what I'm playing, if you want to drop by, talk some anime, I am 100% down. I feel like doing that live would be a ton of fun, even though I love doing it with you guys in the comments. But yeah, even if you just want to drop by for a recommendation and then bail, all good. So I'm really excited about that. Whenever I get the actual official details, I'll let you guys know. But I think that's it for this week.
Sick. Hell yeah. Yeah, just thanks to everybody who like hangs out and watches and supports us, and obviously, to know you guys are enjoying it and having fun just makes it that much more fun for us cuz this is sick either way, just talking about anime. And I've been turned on to a lot of good shows, and finally got around to watching Tokyo Ghoul, which I've raved about and how good it is, you know what I mean? But it's just been a lot of fun, and it's been cool connecting with people who have enjoyed it too. So, we appreciate it big time.
Yeah, and guys, right there on the screen, you guys will be able to just click on the video. We just dropped a video talking about Tokyo Ghoul Part 1, kind of watching in 2024, our kind of reactions, what we think. So if you guys are interested in that, check that out. Part 2 is coming soon. But I mean, yeah, this has just been an absolute blast. We are so happy you guys are enjoying it, and we just are going to continue doing it. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. So that is it. Blake, is there anything else?
We'll see you next week, and we'll keep hopefully putting out good stuff that you guys enjoy. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Hells yeah, guys. Peace.